It's really good to see this one grow.
He's gonna start.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Hey, welcome to EdinburghJS. I'm Rory, and I'm hosting tonight in place of Jamie, who is kind of busy looking after his newborn baby. Also hosting is Esteban, and helping with live streaming and sponsoring is Alan here from Product Forge. So the order of tonight is that we're going to start with the community intro. And after that, we have a talk on open source. Now, before we start with anything, I'd like to point out that the next event is going to be a social, which is when, again, Esteban, do you remember? It's at Joseph Pierce.
Yeah, will be on the 15th of December, 7:30 p.m. And the name of the pub is
Joseph Pierce.
that one.
It's the one at the top of Leith Walk. Is that right? We'll start with the community intro and save your questions to the end, and then we can sort of pass and hold on to your questions and put your hand up, and we'll pass the mic around so that we can hear you on the on the live stream, as well as just in the room. What else to say? We're not expecting any fire alarms. Toilets are over there. You've maybe seen that already. But I suggest we just get started. So I'll hand over the mic. Actually, you've got a mic, don't you? You've already has Okay, so welcome, and on you go, Hassan.
Okay. Hey, good evening. So my name is Hazem, and I'm doing the community intro today with you. I have been here for 6 months. I attended multiple meetings. It was interesting for me, so I thought, why not sharing my story? So yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit of stories. I hope it's interesting. So community intro, but in fact, it is not community. Disclaimer: everything I'm saying is my own opinion. I don't want to get laid off or fired. I'm joking. But everything I'm going to say is my personal experience and my personal opinion. So, in fact, it is not community intro. It is imposter intro. So my whole life, I was feeling like imposter in everything, and I'm going to show you how some bits of what happened in the slides. But a little bit about me. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Egypt, Cairo. As you might notice, English isn't my natural language. I think you already noticed that. So what I'm doing, I love to try new things. Last month, I started doing yoga, salsa, bachata, different things. I love to try new things. And I have been here for 6 months. I like to take photos for natural scenes, but I'm not a good photographer. I'm just taking a multiple photo. I hope one of them be good. Yeah. So my journey. Before uni, I didn't know anything about coding or anything about computer. All I know about computer is just opening the PC by pressing button and playing Silk Road, Conquer, anything of these games. And I didn't know even how to install Windows, all of this stuff. So yeah, and if you're not familiar with Egypt, the education system is different. In high school, you select your major. Is it science, mathematics major, art, or something like this? And depending on your major, and depending on your degree or grades on high school, you will get to some college or university. First, you select the university based on your grade, and then you select the major based on your grade. So if you are interested in to be a doctor, you wouldn't be a doctor. You have to get a good grade. Yeah. So yeah, this is what was happening. Before joining the uni, I didn't know what should I do, what should I try, what should I be expected from me, then this was my whole life. Everything I have been entering to, I don't know what I am doing. And I am sure that I don't belong here every single time. And you can apply this to any story I will tell you later. But after some time, it makes some sense what I am doing. It's okay, I know what I'm doing. It gets easier with time. But whenever I get introduced to something new, oh shit, here we go again. So yeah, this was like, this 5 sentence is the story of my life. So in uni, I'm graduated from some university called Ain Shams. It is one of the top universities in Egypt, but not in the world at all. It's just in Egypt. And at uni, I didn't know, as I said, I didn't know anything about coding, about computer. At the first year, I had some problem-solving training. My mentor was talking about, if you are familiar with code, there's something called for loops or loops. I had a headache. I didn't understand what are you saying. So yeah, but I had to push myself, get out of comfort zone. After this, by 4 or 5 months, I became a competitive programmer. After this, I became a mentor and teaching competitive programmer and how to be a coder. After this, at my second year, I started competitions or being a competitive programmer, and I went to some regional competition called competitive programmer, if you heard about CBC before. Yeah, and every single day of my uni days was the same. Getting introduced to a new topic like gaming, I don't know what is happening here, oh shit, here we go again, and the same cycle. Yeah, after that, I'm graduated at 2020, yay, but not yay. So my first project, try to imagine what was my first project was, or what it was written with. What is like, at now, if you are graduated from 2020, what is the worst language you might experience? Sorry? I don't know. So I am like a nowadays child, so I don't know a lot of language. I was just kidding. So the project was written in Visual Basic Script. And each file, in fact, I was working in some company full-time freelancing. So the client gave us the server credential, and here you go, get the code. What are you doing? How should we get the code? Try to get the code. So we found the code, but we found multiple versions of the same code. So which one? We don't know. And also we found, like, on the production server, we found hello world in Python, hello world in JavaScript. I think the developer was learning how to code in the production server. So anyway, the first project was horrible. It was totally legacy. It was written in 2001. Each file contained like 5,000 lines of code. And each file contained like the front end with within it a back end, within it a front end. Like he opens HTML tag, then he queries something from SQL, then he do something with Visual Basic Script, then he generates some HTML tag. The code was really horrible. So you can imagine I didn't know what I am doing here, and I didn't know how to survive, but I survived. Yeah, after that, the next project was something related to cloud. So we used AWS and CDK, and Angular, and Spring Boot. I didn't know any of that, but here we go again, and the same cycle again. What I want to say, everything get easy with time. Everything you will find at first, wow, what is happening here? I don't know, what should I do? But it is the first time or the first look for something, you will find it hard and difficult, and you can't imagine what you should do, but it gets easy with time. So what I'm doing now. Did anyone have the question what I'm doing now? I didn't introduce myself what I'm doing now. So currently, I'm a software engineer at Amazon at ads targeting, and still the same cycle. I have no idea what I'm doing. But it's okay. So to be honest, I started to develop some mechanism. It might differ from someone to the other, how to defeat this cycle, the imposter cycle. I think every one of us, or I believe everyone, or 90%, I shouldn't say everyone, 90% of us have faced the imposter syndrome. Maybe in different situations, like you don't belong here, you think that everyone thinks that, oh, I am experienced, but I don't know what I am doing. They will find out and they will fire me. This is my everyday. But I think everyone is the same situation, so don't believe you are different. You might be different in other things, but don't think you are different in the negative things. You will find out that everyone doesn't know everything. So how did I get out of my comfort zone? Just by forcing myself into new things. I found out that to learn new things, to override or overcome the imposter syndrome, just to force yourself in new things. You will get into the same cycle. You don't know what you are doing, but you will learn bit by bit. And I found like it's something like a code or something like inner belief for me that if someone did it before, I can do it. And if no one did it before, why not be the first one to do it? I think this motive or this code has motivated me a lot. So, yeah, how did I join Amazon? First of all, applied to Amazon.jobs, have multiple attempts, didn't know what should I do again. And if you don't know how Amazon or the process in Amazon happen, you start by applying on Amazon.jobs. If you pass the CV screening phase, at least for my experience, I had a code interview. If you passed it, you will have something like phone interview or screening interview with software engineer. After this, if you pass this phase, you will have a full day interview, 5 or 4 interviews with different software engineers, different software managers. Wow, it's really hard, right? No, it isn't. It is really easy. And all what you will get asked about is basics. It's my personal experience. Basics of data structure for a software engineer, basics of data structure, basics of problem solvings, and basics of coding, clean code, and all of this stuff. And the most important thing for Amazon interviews, there is some principalship skills that you have to know, and we are operating with it. It's a 16 principal skill, or principal leadership skill. It is like be a customer obsession, have an ownership ethic. You will find all of this information on multiple sites, but I wanted to give you a brief on how to apply to Amazon. Yeah, what did I learn from the multiple attempts? Don't over-engineer. Don't ever over-engineer. If you get asked how to add 2 numbers, just say x plus y. Don't go mentally, oh, I will do a recursive function to do x and y and z. No, just answer the same or the basic question. And if there is any follow-up, just make the follow-up. Don't put an assumptions that is just in your mind and think that the interviewer is asking you about it. Basics can do magic. You can do a lot of magic with just, if you are just knowing the basic. Everything is built on basics. Every framework is built on basics. So if you know your basics, you will know how to survive. Yeah, and you will be there one day. I had multiple interviews. I was applying for 1 year, but to be honest, I was spamming. So, but you will be there one day. Don't think, as I said before, if someone did it before you, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, the preparation was, as I said, the leadership skills and the basics. And you will find a lot of websites that talks about the leadership skills and the basics that you need. Just simple research will get you there. Yeah, so today I wanted to talk about some technical things. So I'm going to talk about AWS and CDK. Is anyone not familiar with AWS? Okay, AWS is a cloud provider. You can rent some machines, some storage, a lot of things. But what is CDK? CDK is Cloud Development Kit. To get a machine on AWS, you just have to sign on the console and do a few clicks and multiple clicks and all of this stuff. CDK saves you a lot of time by creating your infrastructure as a code. Just a simple few lines of code, and you will easily rent EC2 machine, rent SS3. And what else will help you, or what is the benefits of it? Since you are writing a code, you can make other people review the code. You can also have a revisions of the code, so whenever things go bad, you can go back or revert your commit or your changes. And most probably it will be supporting your language. CDK currently supporting TypeScript, Python, I think Java, and C#. Not sure, but I think so. Yeah, and no more manual work. So I'm not sure. Can I convert to my laptop? Yeah. So yeah, this is my side project. I was trying to create some serverless or without any machines video encoder. So I had to have an SS3 bucket as a place where can I store the videos, and some SQS. SQS is a queuing service. Lambda is Lambda functions that run on the cloud, and SS3 output bucket to get the output format. And as you are familiar with AWS, IAM rules is the permissions between everything to communicate. So all of this stuff, to do it manually using the console, it took me 2 or 3 days. And this is just for one environment. For the development environment, you have to do a lot of work. But let's try to see how it looks. Something like this. So you can imagine how I spent 2 or 3 days creating all of this. But the good thing is I'm going to try to connect it to my laptop. I hope it works. Does it work? Yay! So, as you see, a lot of things to do. But if you're planning to do it using the CDK, can you see my screen? Can you see? Yeah. So with 100 lines of code, you can create the same work you will do in 3 days. So what else will benefit this? If you want to move your work from development environment to production environment, you will just add 1 line of code. So yeah, let's try to see what is happening here. It's not a clean code. No judge. First of all, with this 10 line of codes I'm creating, I'm trying, but I'm not familiar with Mac, so Okay. But it's command plus, not control. Okay, can you see now? So basically, for the input bucket, 10 line of code, you are telling it what is the name of bucket and how do you want to encrypt the data in it. Do you want to save the data after that or not? And some access policy can be go on one line, but I'm trying to be clean coder. And after this, you can create a SQS with 4 lines of codes. And after this, I'm giving a permission for the for the S3 to get messages or to give messages to the SQS. And after this, I'm adding notification that whenever anything get uploaded to the S3 bucket, SQS gets the notification. And then creating the Lambda function and telling the Lambda function, even I can tell it with the CDK where the code that the Lambda function or the computation power will use from. And I can say which runtime environment I want to use in the Lambda. And then a policy, then, yeah, anyway, you get the idea. You can, CDK can make you a lot of magic. You can save a lot of time. You can deploy your infrastructure in multiple environment. By the way, just to deploy the code, all you have to do is, type CDK deploy, and it will get deployed with 10 letters. Yeah, and to change the environment that you want to deploy the things on, you just, where is it? You just say the AWS account ID. You just change it to whatever ID you want and the region you want, and here you go. You have the same infrastructure on multiple accounts, and you can go beyond that. It is really magic. So what I recommend for CDK, first of all, get familiar with AWS to know the different services that you can use, like SS3, EC2, also multiple services like SQS. And what is good about AWS is that it has like more than 100 services. You will find like a service that do what you want, or even multiple services that do whatever you want. So learn about AWS services, then move to CDK, because it saves a lot of time and a lot of effort, and enables you to do code revision or code review. And by the way, AWS has a great documentation for its CDK. And it's not because I'm working in Amazon. It's not related at all. As I said, everything I'm saying is my personal opinion. I'm out of time, right? Okay, yeah, thank you.
That's grand. Thank you, Azam.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Yeah, I've got one over there. You go for it.
Okay, I'll keep it short. I'll try to keep it short. So this is really interesting. But I was thinking as you were talking whether, for example, is this compatible with local stack to test your script against, say, a local environment?
What you mean by local environment?
Local stack
like
is
on premises?
No, local stack is this local environment where you have S3 and SQS and so.
Yeah.
So can you run this against local stack and
against a stack that is already deployed?
No, it's like a virtual local stack.
Okay.
Well,
no, you should only deploy.
So this is just to deploy.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was about idempotency, like thinking about Terraform and how it detects differences and just applies differences. Would this work like
Yeah,
like
this
that?
detects the differences. So how does the CDK work? So CDK First of all, you say CDK deploy. What is happening in the background? CDK takes the code that you created and convert it to something called CloudFormation. CloudFormation is all your stack is written in some JSON or YAML format, a format that AWS services or servers understand and deploy it. So what happened after that? Whenever you deploy after another deploy, it just detects the differences between the already deployed stack and the stack you are trying to deploy. And you can even test what is the differences without deploying with a command called cdk-def. This command will detect the differences between the version you are trying to deploy and the version which is in the cloud already. Any other questions? I'm joking. Yeah.
Is working for a FANG company as good as people think it is?
You're trying to get me fired, right? I'm joking. To be honest, it depends on your personal experience, personal opinion, and a lot of other factors. You're trying to get me. So my opinion is I really like it because I'm learning a lot of new things on a large scale, and especially Amazon trying to satisfy the customer. Our first leadership skill is customer obsession. Amazon is, you're asking about my opinion, so don't. So Amazon is customer centric, so they put the customer at the first and start thinking backward from the customer. So I'm dealing with a real customer, even if it's not a client like shopping on Amazon, but it might be a customer as my friend on other team or something like this. So I really like it because a lot of leadership skills, which is good. I'm talking about Amazon, not general FANG. I don't know the other FANGs. But leadership skills is really good and the environment is really good. But as I said, it depends on the other teams. Like maybe you don't like what you are doing or something like this. It depends on the team and a lot of other factors. But I really like it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the talk. It's very interesting. You mentioned early on that you worked on, as your first project, a sort of legacy Visual Basic system. Do you regret doing that, or do you feel like you learned something from being thrown in the deep end, as it were?
Okay, so this question have multiple sides. I regret working on it because I didn't learn a lot about it, because I didn't approach it in the correct way. If I go back in time, I would approach it in a better way, because you don't always work on what you like. So it is a normal thing to deal something you are not comfortable with, something you are not familiar with, but I had to learn more than what I learned, like how to deal with legacy code. And even I don't regret it also because I tried to refactor and tried to learn how to have a clean code or have to give the next developer a better experience. Yeah. So I don't regret it, but I regret not doing more about it.
I just have a question about the CDK. Is that like to intend to replace frameworks like serverless? Because I have a little bit of experience with the serverless framework that is like a lot of YAML files to set up like all the lambdas and the IAM policies and all that. And I would not like to write YAML anymore.
To be honest, I'm not familiar with serverless, so I can't, like I'm 24 years old. I just came yesterday, but I'm joking. I think it is like fully compatible with AWS services, and it is fully supported by AWS. So if you're going to think about having a CDK or another framework that gives you the same ability, I think you will go with CDK, because I think I can. Let me connect to the Wi-Fi. The best thing about this is it is supported by AWS, and the documentation is supported by AWS. I just want to connect to the Wi-Fi to show you the documentation. It's really intensive and have a lot of information that whatever you want, you will find, and every service. And it has a huge community since it is written in multiple languages, so a lot of people will use it. You don't need to learn how to code in YAML or how to code in JSON to create it. So maybe it will replace it one day, but I'm not sure. I don't know. But
yeah, the reason why we were using it in my previous company was that the documentation for the serverless framework was almost better than the AWS documentation for the, when you were setting up your Lambdas or any of the services. It was like they had it really nice, but you had to write it in YAML, which was a bit of a pain.
Maybe it is a trade-off. But also I can imagine that the serverless might be helpful. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but it can support something else other than AWS. So
yeah, I think it does, yeah.
it is a benefit.
I think it was built on AWS, I'm not 100% sure. Like built for AWS.
Yeah, but for example, if I know the correct Terraform can support other things, so it is a trade-off. For example, you will be able to build multiple stacks or multiple infrastructure in different cloud providers, versus you will have full support from AWS and a lot of huge community that using multiple languages, and yeah, it is a trade-off.
Thanks.
Just to ensure that we keep the time, maybe save any questions for the break, and you can go on to chat to Azim yourselves and whatnot. As we'll take a little break. There's still hopefully there's some remnants of pizza and drinks out there, which, although Jamie wasn't here today, he did manage to secure that for us before the event started, so that's great. Thank you again, and then we'll come back. Okay. Hey, welcome back to part 2 of EdinburghJS, and I thoroughly enjoyed hearing the stories of mess and disaster. You know, I don't want to hear about things working well. I love it. I love nesting front end and back end and back out again. I think disaster stories. If anyone wants to offer up like terrible war disaster stories, I would welcome that. Community intro, war story, disaster story. I would welcome that because, yeah, I've got one where I've had to like fake data for a dashboard that was supposed to be driven off of real-time sensors that never existed, but the report said that they did exist. But you know, anyway, not that's one for another time. Anyway, we have Orham who's going to talk about the fabulously named Goombox, and I also invite you to, well, get thinking about your own talks while we're listening to this one, and perhaps a community intro, because we need and we must have more people to continue EdinburghJS and the great talks that we have, like we've had tonight. So yeah, I'll pass over to yourself, Orham.
Hey all. So I'm gonna talk about Sandbox on steroids for front-end engineers. Is there any front-end engineers? Oh, good. So yeah, a bit about me. My name is Orhan Jafarov. I have more than 10 years of experience in web. Previously, I worked like a full-stack webmaster, like old school. So currently, I work as a front-end engineer in Amazon. Yeah, I work on open source projects. Sometimes I write some articles about front-end JS and so on. I do build Figma plugins and some other crazy stuff. So yeah, let's talk about Sandbox. And also I added a bit like JS runners. So is there anyone using sandboxes, like code sandbox or something like that? Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about what is the sandbox and the issues it needs to fix, or I mean, why we need the sandbox. So mostly, these are my points that I think, like for me, is so it's rapid prototyping when you want to prototype some, like quickly, some component to check how it works and so on. If you want to test your ideas, you need just some environment to quickly test it, how it works and so on. You're solving algorithms. If you want to have like in your IDE, instead of your IDE, you just need some like dedicated environment as a sandbox to check that, or do debugging. And one of the point here is coding in text area, which is pain for me. Let's say if you want to send the code, for example, you want to comment in GitHub or in while you're reviewing, so you have text area for comments. Without any syntax highlighting or indent and so on, and that's pain because you need to go to your IDE, then just try to format your code, and then also you need to check it, which is quite hard because you need to run it somewhere, create a file, and so on. So this is also one of the issue why we need sandbox. So about good sandbox, that's I expect. It should have a dev environment set up. Like you don't want to deal with Webpack configuration or any bundler configuration. You just need to open it, start doing all these issues. Also secure your data, because of you want your data to be secured. For example, if you work in the company with the confidential data and so on, and you can't just use in any of the sandbox this data. Another stuff is you probably want to use third-party packages in your sandbox. So sandbox should be super fast, like super fast compiling, and also it should have Zen mode, because all these issues like testing ideas and so on all needs like you to be concentrated on the code and it should be not distracting. That's why the Zen mode, I think it's quite important. So what we have here, like currently, these are all like popular solutions, like Code Sandbox, which is most popular. The StackBlitz, quite new one, and or some old like CodePen, Replit, and there are two JS runners, which is RunJS and Quokka.js. Anyone used Quokka or RunJS? It's cool. So let's talk about the problems in these solutions. So first of all, it's the setup that can take more time than expected. Like you want to just start, create project, and you want to see the project. But instead, it takes some time. Yeah, like StackBlitz is fast enough, but it's just the common problems. So another one is, again, you store your data in their servers, and that's insecure, of course. And also there's a thing like the free versions of these solutions. They even publish it, because like if you have your sandbox and it's and you're using for free, they will be not even in their server. That would be like in public. The other stuff is complex UI. Too complex, you see too many things on the screen, and you can't just concentrate on what you want. The other thing is online only. They work online, and that's actually one of the problem. That's, for example, you have bad internet. You're trying to do some changes and so on in your sandbox, and that might have some problems like delay, and you will see like your code is overridden, and this kind of problems, like some of them solve it, but not completely. Like it's still a problem, and this also causes timeout issues. And the price, like it depends. For example, Quokka, I bought Quokka like £35, and in a year it stopped working in my VS Code, and the support said like I need to buy license again, because that was just for the previous version. So I think that's come, and that's why I thought that I need to create my own solution, which called Goombox. This is open source project that I'm gonna publish soon. So yeah, about the name. Goom means in my language, in Azerbaijani, I'm from Azerbaijan, it means sand, so it's literally sandbox, nothing special. So yeah, let's talk about advantage and then demo. So it sets up the environment about a second. It's just for first setup for environment, and then you're ready to go. Super fast compiling. It's working with ES-Build and so on. It stores all data on your local machine, so it's kind of secure. If you don't have any problems like on your local machines, it means like all the data lives on your machine. It has auto package installing, type definition installing. Like you don't need to care about the type definitions, because they're all automatically installing and then setting inside of the IDE. It has a JS runner mode. It works offline, and it has Zen mode. Yeah. So demo. Here is the app. So it's quite simple, as I promised, the Zen mode. It has the two screen, like with preview and the code part. So to create any project, you need just to go, for example, you can choose, I've added some of templates or environments like for React, Vue, Svelte, Angular. And for example, you want to create a React project, like to test, you just click on it. Yeah, that's done. The environment is ready. You can see there is a hello. You can name it somehow, like React example. And you can start coding. Like it has the hot reload. You can see how it's changing. And also you can install the packages straight inside. For example, let's say we want to write some. By the way, you can do also the full screen. Also good for presentations, like to show. Yeah. So yeah, let's say you want to use random from Lodash. You just write Lodash. It starts installing, done the version, and you want to add, I don't know, some on click. Just do set number, and we call, and also you can see that it's the definition is here, like you can see the random is here, say from 0 to 100. Yeah, and yeah, we're just clicking, and you can use all the stuff. You can import as you want, and all the libraries you're trying to use, they're all trying to set up into the IDE, this small IDE that's here. So yeah, that's about React, and you can also use, for example, Material UI if you're using. By the way, in this area there is a history. All the files you created, opened, you can archive them, and you can like show them or hide, and you can open the project. So this is the Material UI. You can see how fast this is running, and yeah, like everything is working. You literally need to just copy. I can even show the example. Let's say we have this code from documentation of Material UI. You just copy. Okay, where is that? You just paste it here, and that's it. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, like everything is in one file, I would say, because like for Sandbox, mostly it's like I can add the files and so on, but no sense, because it's again the same sandboxes that I don't like. And this one, like about just one file where you can quickly prototype, test your ideas, and so on. Yeah. And also you can like open in the browser if you want to test in like inside of your browser, or let's say if you want to test on your mobile, you can open if they're both in the same network. So yeah, some of examples. For example, the Angular, you can run Angular here. Here we have the two-way binding, so you can say like this. So everything is working, and it's quite like fast. Svelte, also it supports Svelte, and it supports this importing stuff everywhere. For example, let's have some small demo. Let's change the color of the like random colors in this box. For example, let's import random hex, and yeah, let's change the color here. It should be like this, generate, and change border color. Yeah, so we have our variables here. We pass them to the background and border color, and we have our handler on this button. So yeah, that's so it's quite fast and easy. There is some problems with Vue, as always. That's why I don't know something with a compiler. That's why I couldn't fix it for now, but that should be fixed later. Yeah, this part is about sandbox, like sandbox when you're using frameworks. Another thing, I mean, this is about the alternative for Code Sandbox, Stack Bleeds, CodePen, and so on. And another alternative is for the Quokka, which is just, let's say, JS. Like when you create JS, it creates just this kind of JS, and this is a JS runner. So, for example, you can write your code, let's say, number 5, and you can check if number 5, then let's say more. If it less, you can say less. And you need to add this kind of syntax to see the inline results. For example, you can change it like this, and then like you will see all the let's say console logs straight inside of your code. And I have better examples for that. Let's say we have function called extend object, and we have object like person with name, and we can also like do console log. For example, we can do like this. We will see the object, and we can also do it here. Like we can see how it changes. Like we can console log straight inside of it, and also we can check it here, like what keys or like what we're getting inside of the function. We can see all the results here, and let's say debug it. We can solve algorithms, some issues, and then we can easily debug it in this way. And yeah, it has some kind of features. By the way, it's also use like you can use imports. Like you can use third-party libraries here, and I'm using here the project name generator that generate this kind of weird names. I use here the Lodash capitalize and the random from Lodash. So, and you can see that that there is like items, and what I'm doing, I'm just iterating, and you can see it changed the number. There is some kind of feature, I would say. If the console log text is too long, it would be this like short. I guess it's 60 characters, something like this. And to see all, it says like add this mark. So, and then you can see like all array in this case. Or there is another thing, is hover. Like you can just hover, and you can see all the results from here, and you can just, I don't know, copy or do whatever you want. Yeah, like it's not fully covering all cases, but most of the cases it's good. And this is the alternative to this scammers from EdinburghJS. Yeah, and it's open source. Yeah, like all these projects gonna be here. Like you can just I don't know, search for the projects. It supports the keyboard. Like you can move like the tabs, or you can do command 2, 3, and whatever. And yeah, and it's also accessible. So yeah, you can reach anything with your keyboard. And so yeah, and this is how it works. By the way, this is just a single process, And when you're changing a tab, it seems like you're going back, but not every time. When you're moving to another tab, switching tabs, it kills the process of bundler and then run it again. But it's because of it's quick enough, you can't even see how it's changing. So yeah, that's my demo. So how it works, like the core structure. So it has a backend, which is Electron main process. This process is working with operation system, file system, and so on. And we have app UI, which is Electron renderer. And they both are working together, like sending messages and so on. And every time you change something inside of the IDE, it goes to the backend, and then that backend changes the file, edits the file, and then like initially the backend runs servers. We have two servers. One is HTTP server, which is serving the files that's compiled, and WebSocket. WebSocket, we need just to have a hot reload, because I have my custom hot reload there, just to say that there is bundler error or bundle succeed, and then to know when this iframe should be reloaded. Then if there is a running bundler, it's ESBuild, and this ESBuild, I wrote like 3 plugins to support CSS, like module resolving, I don't know, and this one for runner, which calls runtime logs collector. I don't know the name, I just call it. How this runner, the runner is the one that's where you can see the inline results like logs. So it works like it's reading your code from the file, like the pure code, like initial code that you have. For example, we have this person again with Tom York. Then it's parsing the abstract syntax tree to get all the statements, all the declarations of the code. Because why this needed? Because let's say you can't just take line of code and console log it, because the line is just like piece of the code. For example, in a person you have object, and you need to know, like you want to know the object like range. You can't just take a line of the object and then console log it, like you will just get a bracket. So that's why there is a parsing, and after parsing, this collector modify code. It adds something like results empty array on the top, and after each variable or everything that you might console log, it adds some piece of code which is serializing the variable. Why needs to serialize? Because we need to copy the variable. If you will send results of console log at the end, they might be changed, because variable might be changed, might be mutated, and so on. To be sure that you are getting the exact that log, you need to serialize. That's why it's serializing, and then it push this result into the results array. It has the line and column number. That's why I have all this information inside of this collector, and at the end, all this code is running in invisible iframe. Like that JS code that you see, it has invisible iframe, and when you're running all this invisible iframe, your app UI just receive these results with a line number and result. and you can just, inside of your editor, you can just have decorators to show them, like in which line, which result. So yeah, this is how it works. About problems. The first one is the app size. It's not that big for Electron, because yeah, Electron comes with 100 megabytes, but I mean in zip it's 140. It's possible to reduce the size, but I mean currently I'm not trying to optimize it, yeah, because then it has the problem is single process, because everything you're doing, they're all in even different process, but in single. Like it should be possibly every time every tab needs to work as in Chrome, because in Chrome like every tab is process of V8 and so on, and this should be like this, like every tab should be different process. But it still works quick. I mean, quite fast. Even they're like different process. Every time you're killing the bundler and you're calling it again. It has running servers. That might be not the best idea, but maybe some better idea will be. The JS runner has edge cases. It covers most of the like cases, but sometimes when you're using some weird code, for example, if you're using generators, it's probably will fail, because I'm manually I'm checking declaration and then trying to handle the different cases. For most of them, it works. And tabs there, you can't move tabs, and that's it. Yeah, but they're okay. At least they look nice. Roadmap for this is to write docs. It's to add user settings, because I want this to be super configurable, super customizable. Like you can set your own TS config. You can change at least the colors, the theme, and so on. Now currently it's just constant now. But it's quite easy to add. It's just the support Windows and Linux. Probably it works, but I haven't tested. I don't know. Maybe it works. Full test coverage. Yeah, of course it's not covered fully, but like partially, like bundler and collector. I have just these two tests. Auto package, like to release it on every, I don't know, on every merge or every release, automatically release all this stuff. To have a multi windows, to have like to open multi of them. That's why it's again about the single process, because you can't in single process. You need different processes to run, to detach tab, and then it will work. Right now, not. So the way to share code needed, if you want to share this code with you, then it's like you kind of can. For example, you can take this code and put inside of the URL, and then open URL and then paste it. But there is a limit, like 2,000 symbols or something. That's why it's not the best idea. To add Node.js Vue 3, currently it's Vue 2 and it's not working. So Markdown support also, which is like super easy to add. To have better error display. By the way, I forgot to show that it has this kind of errors from bundler when it's not runtime, and it has runtime errors like okay, yeah. So if there is something that's running in runtime, it will show there is like two kind of error. But I don't like the design, because I just added like white. At least I thought that it would be bad if I will have a error message with a red background, and I promised about Zen mode, and now there is a there's a message and every time, and this is to test idea, and of course you will have errors, and that's why I'm trying to reduce this, at least to have delay in errors, or to have very tiny errors to not distract you. And package manager, like simple one, just to change versions, because currently if you have import, it will just take the latest version. You can do for example, you can write React at 16 point something, and it will download that version, but there is some problems. It's better to do with package manager. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Before you go, I mean, this project is it's super new. I mean, it's very early stage, and if you would like to contribute, to improve this, to work on it, as you see, like a lot of stuff inside of this app, like from different kind of techniques, technologies. You can message me in Twitter or in LinkedIn, and after a couple weeks, I'm gonna publish this open source project, and then yeah, we can do it together, because as you see, a lot of stuff needs to do. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Orhan. I would like to open up the floor to questions, but first one for me is, so you're seeking contributors. Is there anything in particular you're looking for first?
Like front-end, I guess, engineers. I mean, at least like JS. We need like JS skills. I would say advanced skills.
Any questions?
So I've got a very quick question. So usually when I am coding on React, I just use npm start, and I've got an instance running on my web browser. So why would I use a sandbox? What would be the experience different? Is it the inline coding, or is it something additional?
No, let's say if you want to try something, check something, you need to, at least if you want to make it locally, you need to create React app, let's say, to initialize your project, and then like do all this project. But again, it's all takes time. You need to find folder. You need to, I don't know, you need to open your IDE, you need to install init this, you need to run your servers and so on, and then you need to, for example, maybe install some core stuff that you want to need. And also you need to install all the packages every time instead of the automatically loading and so on. That's why, like, to go away from the code, for example, if you're in VS Code, from that environment to your environment, which is like an encapsulated environment where you want to test something, and you're sure that everything there is not related to your code, because as you said, you do npm install, but in npm start, but you do it inside of already existing product, right? And you will not test, you will not play with that code a lot, so that's why it's needed.
Oh, first, an amazing project, so
Thank you.
congrats. I wanted to ask, do you get any support from Amazon in terms of, like time to do this? Because like, like I guess Amazon has had a bit of a story with open source, a bit kind of like with the whole kind of like Elasticsearch and stuff. So I was interested in how is these like open source projects seen in the company.
Yeah, got it. This project is like my personal side project, because I can't work long time on one project on my it's getting boring always. That's why, yeah. So Amazon, I would not say that Amazon is it loves, I mean, open source a lot, and for example, this project, like to make it happen, I need to talk to the manager. We need to have some one-pager. It needs to be approved, and also if they will think that like it's just waste of time, or they will say something. So it means that that will just, and at the end of the project, this product will be like the Amazon will be owner of this project. But I want it to be just fully opened, and to be, you know, like to have a community that will create their own sandbox, which instead of using all these solutions that's like all like paid, or they have some problems and so on. Instead of that, let's make our like community sandbox. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Nice project. I wanted to ask, whenever you import, for example, if you import something from a library, you installing it, right?
Yeah.
If I removed the import, it will get uninstalled?
If you removed?
The import, the package will still exist?
No, it still will be there.
And if multiple tabs or multiple processes using the same package, each of them will install its own version, right?
Yeah, they will, like, there is a, like when you are adding the import, the program is parsing all imports and check if you already have that package, it will not install. It will just send to the IDE all the definitions, because definitions needs to be in IDE. And that's it. I mean, it will not, it will work offline. I mean, let's say. Yeah.
And it depends on the specs of my machine, right? It runs in 1 second because it's your machine.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, let's say even if you slow down your computer, like you're doing, it will still be okay, because it's a very light process, which is running quite fast. One problem that's inside of the bundler that I just a couple days ago I fixed, and then I got that I need more time. I tried to fix it for the presentation. Let's say there was in the ES build, if you're watching file, there is some memory leak. I solved that, and then I got that there is some other problems. So that probably would be good to fix, but it's quite fast. I mean, if I was running with the with activity monitor to see how it's going, with the profiler I was dumping all the memory to see how it's going, and it's quite nice. I mean, not many like memory leaks, just the few from bundler, and it should work okay even on a slow device.
My last question, it's very nice project. How long have it take from you?
It took like 2 months to build, but before this I was doing some very similar project to this, but everything was on front end. I mean, like also, I mean, it was Electron, but everything, all the compiling was inside of client, which is, I got that it's bad. That's why this one from scratch I built like in 2 months. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing project. It's going to be really useful, I think. I just want to ask, when do you think you'll have version 1 out?
I think when at least half of the roadmap will be done. Yeah, and also the code, I mean, I'm just embarrassing because I can't just push the code. I mean, it's not bad, but it would be better if I will structure it better for contributors, and then it's but I think quite soon I can publish, because everything seems like okay, like I'm using it by myself. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it looks like a really cool project, so well done. Looks like quite easy to use. So the main reason I would use something like Code Sandbox is to see, like, help me figure out how some obscure library works and look for code examples and things like that. So are you going to make it online accessible, like, so you can share your sandboxes?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that was here the share code. That was about it. Actually, about the way how to share securely, to share the code, and yeah, it should be like possible. I mean, I was thinking about to like to just give some let's say server. If you want to have it secure, let's say you just need to run your own server, and then you can just share inside of, like, if you're connected to that server, like to not share the code between, I mean, in someone's server. That's, I think, that was one of the idea. But yeah, if any ideas about sharing, yeah, anytime you can.
Would you consider having like a setting where people could say, like, yeah, I'm fine to share any code? Because personally, or my projects, I wouldn't care too much if, like, anyone could see it, and it would be useful if I could search other people's projects and see their code examples.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, that's possible. That should be quite easy to do that. Yeah, the only thing is about how to be also secured, and also how to share both this and the best way to share, because it's it seems like for the big, for example, as I said, if you can easily share as a URL, like as a huge URL, but it's limit 2,000 symbols. If your code is more than 2,000, you need to upload it somewhere and then share the link to that one and then reopen. That is about. I think if this will be not open source, maybe that will make sense to have server that's running. And yeah, if there will be like something like back or someone that's for the project, yeah, for sure, that would be great.
Secondly, what are your sort of long-term aims for the project? Is it just a useful tool that you want to put out there, or do you want to turn it into a business or something? Or
actually. I want to keep it as a open source project. No, I mean, I'm bad in business, as you see, and
people that were charging you too much.
Yes, yes, yeah, definitely.
One more, a quick one. Very quick. Good. We're done then. Orhan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thanks again for attending another EdinburghJS. Again, please, what do we have coming up? Yeah, we've got the social, which is on the 15th at 7 at Joseph Pierce. Otherwise, thank you, good night, and please send us any thoughts or proposals for a community intro. Doesn't have to be anything big, or a full-fledged talk or demo or an introduction of an amazing new project. So thank you very much. Thanks again.